Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're moving on with our rankings over to wide receivers. And we switched it up a little bit this week we actually posted our rankings over on Instagram this morning to get some of your comments, see what you guys thought about where our consensus ranks, came out at. And, there's some, we found some players that people have some strong opinions on. I'll say that. So we'll get into those here in a minute. Before we do that, make sure you guys go check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet or Instagram Fantasy Football Prophet. You can also go check us out on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe there, youtube.com/Fantasy Football Prophet. Also, the relegation leagues just got underway Sunday. We did 7 drafts on Sunday night. We have 17 more yet. There's still 17 more drafts to do. So that was it was interesting. I got a lot of, I don't know why. I kept getting Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. And I don't know. I don't love them, but hey, it's how it worked. That was always fun to do those relegation leagues. So, all right, we're just going to jump into this thing here, Jeff. We're doing ranks. We'll do 1 through 20 today. Next episode, we'll do 21 to 40 and beyond-ish. So we'll get into this. I'm just going to name off these first, couple of them real quick, because this is not much, that's debated here, right? Michael Thomas, number 1. I mean, easy. I would say no one can debate that, but there actually was somebody on Instagram that tried to debate that and say, we shouldn't have had Michael Thomas number 1, he said.
Well, who should be number 1?
Julio. And then Hopkins, then Thomas. Yeah. Not going with that. But other than that, you got Thomas number 1. So this is how we went. With Michael Thomas number 1. Devontae Adams came in number 2 for us. He was 2 for me, 3 for you. Tyreek Hill came in number 3. He was 4 for me and 2 for you. Julio came in 4. I had him 3rd. You had him 4th. And then DeAndre Hopkins comes in 5th. We both had him 5th. That's the top 5, no matter what. Thomas is basically, this is how the list goes. Thomas is always 1, and then those next 4, however you want to put them there, right? I mean, I don't have a strong opinion. If you want to tell me Hopkins would be 2 instead of 5, I'm okay with that, honestly. I think it's kind of a bit of a toss-up between a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's tier 1 right there.
Yeah.
The first 5. Is there anyone? All right, so if you do, say you have the second pick,
yep,
you're going Devontae Adams right now.
I am. I did it. I did that in that Superflex league a couple weeks ago. I got Michael Thomas. That's the one I went 2 wide receivers. Michael Thomas went first, and then Devontae Adams was the second receiver up the board, and I picked him as well.
If you had to split hairs between these guys, what are you getting from each one? Like, you pick him, this is what you expect. Why would you go Devontae Adams? Do you think that's safer?
I feel pretty. I like Rodgers. I like the combo. I think it's going to be good this year again. And I guess Tyreek, the only thing with Tyreek is I just worry about the week-to-week consistency. And, but those on weeks are going to be awesome. And hopefully he becomes more consistent. There's still some down weeks with him. Julio's great. I guess I sometimes, in the past, yes, he didn't always get the touchdowns, but it's not even that as much. I just don't want to get Julio the year where it's like he starts to fall off a little bit more. It starts to get there when you get around 30. So
when you're up this high, is age that much of a factor then? So you're looking at this top 5 and
honestly,
you're like,
it gets to be once they hit 30, I start to, if there's other guys I like just as much right around there, I'll lean the other way. And it's not like Julio's just going to fall off a cliff, and I don't think that at all. I just think in case he starts slowing down slightly, maybe Ridley jumps up a little bit more. Julio doesn't take a back seat but doesn't do his normal thing. That's the only reason why I would maybe pick Adams over him, but I still like Julio over Tyreek just because of Tyreek's possible inconsistency. And the only reason Hopkins then goes at 5 for me is just the new team without having a offseason and a preseason to get it, to work there. And that's why Hopkins falls at 5.
Yeah.
So
I'm always shocked after I look at Julio's numbers. His yardage is always so unbelievably good.
Yep.
And his touchdowns just never are. In his, sophomore season, if you will, he had 10 touchdowns, but that was the top. Besides for that, he had 8 3 times, and then it goes down from there. For being such a dominant, athletic wide receiver that pretty much dominates every single CB he comes up against, I'm always surprised that every year they don't find a way to get him double-digit touchdowns. But either way, his yardage has been so good that I do worry a little bit too. I mean, he has been so consistent and so good, and he doesn't miss games. His third season, he missed all but 5. But after that, I mean, the last 3 years, he only missed 1 game.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. And I get where you're coming from and being like, okay, well, how long can we expect this? Because he is getting older. It's been so dominant. So as soon as that yardage falls off, are we setting ourselves up for failure if you're drafting him in the top, 3, 5, whatever it may be? Anyway, he's amazing. But when you're talking about the top 5, I just want to bring that up.
And so then I'll just jump into some next guys here. So number 6, we went with Kenny Golladay. He was 6 for both of us. And one of the comments I did get from, I think, Kai13, he actually said Tyreek Hill and Kenny Golladay are too high. So both of them. So Hill at 3 and Golladay at 6. Golladay, I've heard this not a lot, but once in a while about Golladay. And this is the only Golladay comment today. But when they try to tell us we're too high on him, but didn't he finish like 3rd last year?
Yeah.
Without Stafford for half the year?
Mm-hmm.
We are ranking him to actually fall off, right? If you think about it that way.
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot to go off of. He was finally the guy. He produced. And to be quite honest, I think, and Stafford should be back. And when Stafford was playing, he was on pace to have his best year yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got hurt, and nothing you can do about that. So I guess my question becomes, the question is more who would jump over him? Because when you get down there and you're seeing Golladay compared to, why don't you list a few of the guys?
All right, so
underneath
then 7 and 8 for us are Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and it was set. We both had Godwin 7. I had Evans 9, and you had him 8. But if these two were on the same team, one of them could jump up there, right? But it's because they're on the same team, and we don't know how those targets are going to be thrown around yet with Brady. None of them played with Brady. Because of that, Galladay's the guy there. I mean, Marvin Jones is there, but he's not going to take away, like these two might take away from each other. And they have Gronk, too, I guess, and Golladay has Hawkins. So they have he has a lesser version of.
Yeah, we're waiting to find out because, I mean, they did get McCoy as well. They drafted, Vaughn. If they get the run game going, they're definitely not going to do what they did last year, right? You're going to be able to control the ball. So I do worry that how high potent offense that Jameis Winston was just whipping that ball around. But he also threw like 30 interceptions, 30 exactly, I believe. They had to score a lot. You're not going to have to because that defense is not that bad. It was just you put them in a terrible position and then these games got out of control. With Brady, I think the play changes. And with two guys that are that good, I mean, I think both of us kind of copped out. I mean, to be quite honest, like we just looked for a space to put them. And I put them back to back. And I truly feel that way because week to week, I have no idea who is going to be the better bet. We have no idea. And with this short of a preseason, this is another one where you're like, who shows up? Who has the chemistry with him? Like, what does Brady really look like? We don't know.
He's 43 years old. Like,
yes,
everyone's just assuming, oh, this is just going to be great. This is just going to work out, right? There's no guarantee this just works out and Brady can even play anymore.
No, not at all. And going on Golladay as well, why don't you name a few other guys underneath him? Because I think it becomes very apparent.
So after Godwin and Evans, then we had actually Adam Thielen jumped to 9 for us. We're a little high on Adam Thielen, so that means Adam Thielen would never get up that high. This is you won't see him much higher than what we ended up having him. Then there's Juju, who, again, I think that's higher than he's been some places. But, of course, we love the talent. It's just,
situation. Yeah. What is Big Ben going to be?
Odell is 11. I mean, look how he played. And then Allen Robinson is 12. So there's Amari Cooper's 13.
Yeah, so
who's going up there?
Yeah, no one. Name one guy that you really believe that you can get that high that has the ceiling that Golladay does.
It's not above Golladay.
No, number 3 without having Stafford for half the year. Yeah. I mean, that is pretty amazing. That is in a Matt Patricia offense that people did not think that would be high flying.
Yep.
They can put up some points. I mean, they really can. The defense is going to be the thing that holds them back, but that's even better, right? Mm-hmm. That is Tampa Bay all over again from last year with a quarterback that doesn't throw as many picks.
Yep, it's true. And then with Golladay, so we had him 6. ADP and consensus have him 7. They do have Godwin ahead. That's the only difference. I'm just not there. I put Godwin one lower.
And I do get that one. Yeah, once again.
But if people try to tell us Galladay's too high, I mean, what? He's one spot too high at the most? Like, he's not. He's perfectly fine. And so then, like I said, we had Godwin Evans. We went over that and how that's going to play out. We don't know. Number 9 was Adam Thielen, who we both expect to see a lot of targets. mean, I know you like Justin Jefferson as well.
I do.
And we'll talk about that on the next episode.
Yeah. Once again, I think Justin Jefferson helps Thielen.
Yes.
I think they help each other. I think if only one of them was lined up, I think all of a sudden they get all the attention. You don't know what's going to happen. But Thielen, when I'm making this list, and I know you agree with me for the most part because obviously we both
with
like him.
Thielen, you had him 9th and I had him 11th. So we're not that,
So I had him 9th, but when I look at him, like I had Odell just below him. I had Amari Cooper just below him. I had Juju below him. Normally, I would like those guys better. Odell is coming off a terrible year.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen.
So is Juju.
Amari Cooper just got a lot more competition for who, like, is he going to get the ball? I mean, it's one of the most talented offensive teams I've ever seen in my life. And what makes me believe that he's not going to disappear like he has his entire career so far. Like, you will have highs and you will have lows. And then Juju waiting for Big Ben. So it becomes very difficult for me to be like, is Adam Thielen going to get, if he's healthy the entire year, is he going to get 150 targets? Quite possibly. Say 130. I would say that is pretty legit. Like I would put that in the bank if he plays an entire season. It's hard to beat that because I don't know if those other guys will and what they'll do with it.
And we didn't get any Adam Thielen comments, which no one
actually that surprises me.
Not one. He is expert rank right now. He's 13th, and ADP he's going 11 right now. So
okay, well we're not that far off. Then.
No, he's people have come around on Thielen. So after Thielen, we did have Juju Smith-Schuster at 10, which I had him 10th. You had him 12th. And I guess there is concerns. I'm
surprised at that. Usually I've been the Juju backer for so long. You actually went higher.
Juju's, his rank is just very interesting. So consensus right now, expert rank on Fantasy Pros, he's 10th on Expert Pros and consensus. But ADP, he's 18.
Wow, wow. Especially in the top 20, that might be the biggest difference I've seen in a very long time.
I've rarely seen a difference of that kind of difference. That's crazy to me. That means there's some great value there to me. If he's truly going at that level, I'll get Juju a lot as my wide receiver too. And he was awesome with Ben. And if Roethlisberger is healthy and playing, why can't Juju be great? And I think he has some emerging players next to him that can help him. Deontay Johnson, I think, can help him. James Washington, maybe not as much. I think Johnson's better, possibly. We'll see.
And Chase Claypool too.
Yeah, I think there's some emerging other players.
You have Ebron. You do have enough. Like Juju is the obvious number one, right? But the question that never got answered is, can Juju be the number one without Antonio Brown being there?
Yep.
Because Antonio had, he was catching the ball no matter what. So Juju always got second assignment.
Yep.
And we never found out because Ben got hurt so quickly.
I think I'm going to bank on the talent there that I think is there. And this guy's extremely young yet, which is the crazy thing.
So young.
Is he still like 23? I don't even know. It's insane.
Let me think. He was in the league when he was he 20?
He is 23. He will not be 24 until November 22nd.
It's so crazy.
He's still extremely young, and people forget that.
Just a baby.
And then 11, we had Odell, which you had him 10th, and I had him 13th. Odell is just the talent, man. It's Odell.
He's too good not to. And I maybe I'll get burned by it, but when he's there and I'm like, I could get burned by Amari. I could get burned by Juju. I go upside. I go talent. I still believe that Odell will be Odell at some point.
I think so, right? Like, I think last year it was just, I don't think that was a well-coached team last year at all. Freddie Kitchens was he was over his head. He shouldn't have been a head coach. And just it didn't work out, right? And I think Odell's too good. This guy he is honestly one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen in my life, like legitimately talent-wise. I mean, remember what this guy can do on the field is insane.
His first 3 years, and this is why we hesitate to write him off so quickly, right? He's had, I won't say poor, but the last 3 years have not lived up to what we expected out of him. The first 3 years in New York, he was fifth, and fourth. That first year, he only played 12 games and he was still fifth. That's when he really just broke out and everyone's like, oh my gosh, who can guard this guy? He got hurt 2017. He only played 4 games, so that's a wash. Then he only played 12 games in 2018 and was still 16th. And then last year is he played a full year and he was 31st. And that's when people were kind of like, okay, the last couple of years, but it's really just that last year.
Yep.
Injuries have been a thing, but last year he played an entire year. If you can get this guy back on track.
I think he was hurt last year though too. That was a part of he was a little
bit
bit. He played through injury.
But he is one guy that I look down this list and I'm like, he could be number one.
Yep.
100% in my mind.
He could. He's that good. People don't like hearing that from us. Either does Hayden Gordon here. So Hayden Gordon says, y'all realize Boyd and OBJ were both wide receiver ones, and Boyd had better stats.
Okay.
Tyler Boyd is not Odell Beckham. So
yes.
I'm sorry.
And yes, good for Boyd. I will.
Yeah, he is not Odell Beckham.
That is an accurate point. But also, Boyd went from the best position he's ever going to be in his career to getting AJ Green back, to having T. Higgins on his team, to having a new rookie quarterback. You just add, if John Ross is healthy, like, you just add all of these weapons that they couldn't utilize last year. Boyd was the only healthy one for the most part. You're going to just, that whole dinner table was set for him. He pigged out, and now, they just come by and they rip it all off and say, hey, we're starting from scratch. I don't expect him to do as well as he did last year. I think he's a good number 2 wide receiver. I don't personally think he's a possibility of being a number 1. Maybe I'm a hater, but I just don't see it.
Let's go. Number 12 is Allen Robinson. I'm going to skip over that for a second. Number 13 is Amari Cooper. I had him 14. You had him 11. He's good. He's inconsistent, though, week-to-week basis. And he does have Gallup, and he does have now CeeDee Lamb there.
I'll be honest. Here's the thing, too. This is the other aspect we have to put into it. Like, we put Odell here. We put Amari here. But when it comes to that, in these positions, like if you're drafting, I don't know what round that would be, like, are you, like, they're on the board, are you likely to take them, or are you likely to go somewhere else?
I did get Amari Cooper in one of the relegation leagues the other night.
Okay,
and
so
I
you
didn't, but that was in like the 3rd round, and I didn't love it.
Right.
He's my wide receiver 1 because where I went, but I didn't love it.
I almost like, and that's the fine one. If I see him as my wide receiver 1, I'm like, okay, he's a back
as long as you have 2 good running backs ahead of that.
Right. So I don't know. I have a hard time with that one too. Same thing with Odell. I love the upside, but he's going at, I think he deserves to be here. But if I can get him at number 2, I love it. If I get him at number 1, I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, it's worrisome, but he deserves to be there.
Yeah, I think so. Right. All right, and then AJ Brown was 14. I had him 16. You had him 14. I think he could be better than this. He did a lot of big plays, though. We don't know. Somebody made a comment, I can't remember exactly who it was, who said AJ Brown is overrated, which, okay, that was Trevor. Trevor Dugan said AJ Brown overrated. Maybe, but I don't know. I mean, I think we're being cautious on this. So he is, okay, he's 15. He's 15 expert consensus, and he's 14 ADP. So he's cooled off a little bit from where he was going, like top 10. So we have him at a good spot.
The thing, okay, here's the worry, and this is why I would actually kind of agree with him. He's a little overrated because he has such a flashy first year. But he did a lot, and to your point, he did a lot with big plays. He only caught 52 balls. Doesn't usually happen that way. 52 balls for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. That is a lot of things going your way. Can they do that? Yeah, I mean, he could do it again. You have Henry. He'll set up the play action, and Tannehill is definitely a step up from Mariota, and everything kind of trends in the right direction. But if he doesn't get more than 84 targets than he did, like he did last year, it would be very difficult to repeat. And he made it into the top 10 last year. So I go both ways with this one. He does have to take the next step of, we're going to try to get this guy the ball more than we did last year, which you would think would be the obvious play, but they run the ball a ton. So who knows?
And then, all right, let's go 12. Let's talk about 12 and 15 here. So 12 is Allen Robinson. 15 is DJ Moore. And this is where we got the most comments. So, Jeff, I'm just going to, here we go. Here's some of them. The Chris 201 says, Jeff, what's the deal with your DJ Moore rank? So how DJ Moore got to 15 is I had him 12th. Jeff had him 21st. So just let this sink in for all you DJ Moore fans for a second. 21st. All right. So the Chris asked, Jeff, what's the deal? What's the deal with the DJ Moore rank?
All right. So DJ Moore, I don't think he's a bad player. I'm going
to cut you off. Dante says Craig's rankings equals fire. Jeff's rankings equals poop emoji. And he said, awesome. And why that is A-Rob at 17 and Moore at 21 are the things that did it for me. That's way too low.
Okay. The A-Rob thing, I have been moving people around slightly. It's more about the AJ Green where he comes into play.
Marcus says, how does he have A-Rob at 17 WTF?
Yeah, okay, so everyone loves Allen Robinson, and this one is I actually don't mind people liking him, but this is where I come from, and I'll start with DJ Moore, right? Because I'll address both of these. But DJ Moore is a good wide receiver. First of all, we don't really know what the offense is going to look like with Teddy Bridgewater yet. That is always a worry of mine. Christian McCaffrey, number one, they're going to throw it to him over 100 times. DJ Moore is going to be the second wide receiver on that team, even though he's technically number one. He got, almost 1,200 yards last year with 87 receptions. He only had 4 touchdowns. That number does have to improve. It improved from his rookie year from 2. So he's not, I don't believe in that offense he's going to be a big touchdown maker. So I'm putting all these kind of things together, and I just don't get overly hyped because last year everyone got on his hype train as well, and he finished 21st. Good, right? That is exactly, I think that is pretty decent. And so in that case, I think I might be, like he could go a little higher, but I think other guys have higher possibility, higher ceilings because of the teams and touchdown possibilities that they have. I don't hate DJ Moore at all. That is a complete personal one. That when his name comes up and he's supposed to be like my number 2 or number 1, I'm like, I just don't like it. So that one's more personal. Like I can understand a lot of people like him, but I've also heard this hype for the last, ever since he came in the league 2 years ago. And I just don't think this is the year that is going to light him on fire.
I think he's going to emerge as one of the best receivers in the league. Okay, if it wasn't Bridgewater, slightly worries me. I get it, slightly, but I think he's that good.
Yeah,
so.
And to be fair, he put up decent numbers last year with a lesser quarterback than Bridgewater is. So I can understand people getting excited and say, "Wow, if he could do almost 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns, oh my gosh, Bridgewater, he's going to throw it to him 8 times in the end zone." It's not going to happen, but I can understand that is the way you're getting pulled.
This is the perfect, I guess, comment that just kind of shows this whole DJ Moore thing is this. Ty Gurrell says DJ Moore at 15. How? First, it doesn't say, first we don't know. Is it higher or lower? Dave Burnett says that's good. He should be lower. Ty comes back. He's going to be top 10. So
okay. I'll say this. He does have the talent to make a big jump. I just don't personally like the situation or the way that they set up their offense.
And then Allen Robinson. So I had Allen Robinson at 8.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
This guy, I think he's just set for 150 targets. So he's done that most seasons that he's played. Look, he did it in Jacksonville for 2 years. He had 151 targets in his second year and third year.
Yeah, when he played a full season, he goes on.
Then he got hurt the next year. So that's it. It was healthy. Year 2, year 3, 151 targets each of the year. Blows out his ACL. Misses, he did that in the first game of 2017. Came back 2018 with a new team. Coming back from injury. Started to get back into it. I was a big Allen Robinson fan going into last year. I had him about 10 spots higher than anybody else. And which he was getting ranked around 30, and I had him like top 20. And he showed up. He had 154 targets last year. The last 3 seasons he's been fully healthy, he's had 150 targets. I'm not sure there's anybody that's going to, I like Anthony Miller, but I don't think Anthony Miller's going to he's not going to take away from Allen Robinson.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I think he kind of strikes me as he is the safer play. And right now I do have him at 15th. I moved.
Oh, look at that. You
it wasn't because of this. It was more because of AJ Green. And then him and Diggs, I just didn't know exactly what to do. And at first they were ahead of him. Now they're behind him. But either way, I would hold to that, that mid wide receiver 2 ranking. I think that is probably good for me. And yes, do I think that 150 targets, first of all, you can't really catch more than that. Even in Jacksonville, when it was 2015, he broke, he just went crazy for 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. He had 151. And last year he had 154. Do I think that they're going to throw it to him more than that? No. Do I think that, he scored more touchdowns last year than he ever has besides for that one freak year. Other than that, he hasn't been that much of a touchdown machine. He's never gone double digits before again. Do I think that he has the talent? Yeah, I do. But once again, it also goes to the offense, and it goes from you have Mitchell Trubisky, and now you have Nick Foles. I personally do not believe in Nick Foles. I think he is a good backup. I think he has had streaks where he's very good. But you have to ask yourself, which Nick Foles do you think you're going to get? And do you really think that you're going to get the 2013 Nick Foles on Philly when he threw 27 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions? Or are you going to get him on every other team?
Yeah.
I mean, and he hasn't even finished a year for any other team. There is a lot to worry about. Not to mention you have Foles and you have Trubisky, which you overspent like crazy on. So either you got to figure out a way to unload him, or if Foles gets into trouble, Trubisky's coming back in there. And to be fair, I understand why Chicago fans are like, oh my God, we got Foles, we're going to be better. Because I would think that too. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he has this, the role the entire year. And also he tends to get hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So you kind of throw all that in. And do I think that he still deserves to be a wide receiver 2? Yes. But I could never put him in the top 10 because I think we've kind of seen what he can do on Chicago. I don't think all of a sudden he's going to catch double-digit touchdowns. And, he had how many catches did he have last year? He had
98.
98. So he had 154 targets. I think that is ceiling. You have 98 catches. I don't think you're going to go too much over that. And you didn't even make it to 1,200 yards. I just don't see it.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And once again, it's really not that huge of a leap. I understand why people think it's low. But, 8 I think is a little bit aggressive. And maybe my 17 was a little bit low. But once again, wide receiver 2.
All right. We have 5 more here quick to end this off. Not as many comments about these. So we had Diggs at 16. I had him 18. You had him 15. This is one we are way higher than the consensus on. Diggs, consensus-wise, is 27 right now. ADP 23. I think he's a great player. So that's where I have him up here. And yeah, it does worry me, I guess, not being able to have any kind of work with Josh Allen. But I think he's good enough. And I've gotten Diggs in so many drafts because you get him. We rank him here. We don't draft him here. You get him so much later than this. It's awesome. Cooper Kupp came in at 17th for me, 18th for you. I think it's a solid spot for him. I'm hoping we get which Cooper Kupp's going to show up, which half of the season, right? Like last year, he was awesome in the first half, fell off in the second half. We'll see what one shows up. Cortland Sutton, this is another one we were a big difference on. He's 18th for us. He was 23 for me, 13 for you. So consensus-wise, he's 22. ADP, he's 17. So he's just all over the board too. I'm just not sure I'm buying Drew Lock yet. That's my. I need to see more from Drew Lock.
That's fair. I like the talent, but I totally get that. But Cortland Sutton just seems like, and I think he probably is my DJ Moore, if you will. I think he's already broken out and he has all the attributes to be a very good wide receiver. And he did it last year with, not bad quarterback play, but very uninspiring quarterback play. And we saw a couple of games, 4, I think, with Drew Lock, and it seemed like something was there. I don't know. I just really like what they're building there. So I totally understand the worry. I'm on the bandwagon, though. And I want to go back to Diggs a little bit because I do think that is one people have very differentiating opinions on. So the last 3 years when he's been in Minnesota, 2017 to 2019, he's finished as 18th, 12th, and then 18th again. And now you're finally, and he's always been wide receiver 2. Now you're going into Buffalo. You are going to be the number 1. We saw how well John Brown did there, and he's never done as well as that before. You have Josh Allen, who will chuck it, even though maybe he's not that accurate. I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. I personally see this as a better situation because they're going to try to get him the ball because he's clearly their number 1 threat. But how do you look at it? Like, what are the pitfalls? Like, what has to happen for him to actually hit where we think he's going to be?
Josh Allen just has to be decent, I think. If Josh Allen doesn't fall off and become what the worry, I guess, with him is that he's not actually that good, then that's the worry. Josh Allen isn't that good, right? And he can't actually get the ball to Diggs. But I don't think that's the case. I think Josh Allen, as long as he's just good enough, decent, I think Diggs is going to get the ball a lot. And there's like having John Brown there helps. That's a good number 2 to be with you. He's going to have all the attention's not going to be on Diggs. And I just think that's all you need. Josh Allen just needs to be just a capable quarterback here who can get the ball to Diggs. I guess that's how accurate is he? Then that's the key to the whole thing. Diggs is good enough. It's is Josh Allen good enough? That's what the whole key to this is going to be. And we don't always know. We don't know. We thought Trubisky was better than he was, right? So you don't always know with these guys. So that's the key to here. It's Josh Allen. I think he's going to be, obviously by our ranks, we think it's going to work out. So I think it's going to be a good season for him. I think we're going to get him. He's going to be awesome because you're wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and just to show too, the 2 years that he was 2017, 2019, John Brown last year,
Yep.
he got 72 receptions.
Yep.
So that is what they try to force as the number one wide receiver, Josh Allen being his second year, what they allowed him to do. In 2017 and 2019, both of those years, Stefon Diggs only got 64 and 63 catches and was able to turn that into a position 8, which is already higher than what John Brown was last year, which was 19.
Yep.
So I think it's the run after catch, the explosiveness, the being able to, and John Brown is no slouch, but I really do think that Stefon Diggs is a different type of athlete.
Yep. All right, 2 more. Last 2 to round out the top 20. Calvin Ridley was 19. We got one comment about him. Tyler Beckford said, just put a sleeping like emoji next to it. So we're sleeping on Ridley. I don't think so.
I'll say you're a pretty big fan of his.
I mean, we have him top 20. I think I had him 19. You had him 20. I mean, I think that's pretty solid. It's hard to, I mean, he hasn't completely done it yet. So let's just wait and see. I think we're ranking him as a wide receiver 2. I think that's pretty decent. And then we rounded off with DK Metcalf, who is, so Ridley and Metcalf were kind of a tie there. Because I had Metcalf 20, you had him 19, so the same ranks as we had Ridley. And Metcalf, we are slightly higher on him. He's 24th consensus. He's 22nd ADP. This is a guy, though, that I think could really jump up. He has everything. Speed, size, great quarterback. I mean, this could be the player that becomes a wide receiver 1, top 10 guy, easy to me. I think he has that. He was better in year 1 than I think people actually anticipated.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of saying, hey, grab him and then put him on your bench. I bet he's going to be able to play in the second half of the year. And I thought he was going to be sloppy or route running and a lot of the fine tuning I thought was going to have to happen on the field. He looked a lot better. I do think that there is still a ways to go. Will he have a sophomore slump? I love the position he's in with Russell Wilson and the fact they run the ball takes a lot of pressure off of him. But if you just look at the numbers and what he was able to do, and a lot of people, I feel like, don't know what to do with him and Lockett, right? Mm-hmm. Lockett is technically the number 1, but I don't think anyone really views it that way. But DK Metcalf, as a rookie, came in, they threw at him 100 times. He only caught 58 of them, which is another great thing. He can actually increase that percentage, which Russell Wilson is a very accurate thrower. Turned that into 900 yards and 7 touchdowns as a rookie. Mm-hmm. Dear God, what if they actually give him 120 targets? What if he actually turns that into 70?
Yep.
And all of a sudden you have a guy that, with his size and the way they use him, he could be in double digits touchdown-wise, and he could be 1,200 yards. He could be flirting with that top 10.
I think he's that good. So he's the guy who can make the jump. So
yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for part 1 of wide receiver ranks. We'll be back with part 2. We'll go with 21, and we'll have some beyond. We don't know, maybe 40, maybe a couple guys after that. We definitely have a couple players that stood out on the comments. So if you didn't hear our comments today, make sure you're tuned in to the next episode. It's going to be on episode and then part number 2 there. We have a couple players that people had some strong opinions on. So maybe one really had strong opinions on. So we will go over that next time. Talk to you guys later.